Welcome to part 1 of 4 in the series Resiliency. This presentation is prepared by Dr. Karun Semmens, a faculty member from the College of Nursing and Professional Disciplines at the University of North Dakota. This first presentation will introduce the resiliency concept with a case study. The objectives for this presentation are to 1. Define resiliency, 2. Identify personal and professional resiliency, and 3. Describe emotional intelligence. Becoming resilient doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time and strength to build resiliency, as well as the ability to help others. The level of resiliency may depend on personal behaviors, such as what is the person's self-esteem and skills, especially communication skills. It's important to realize that just because a person is considered resilient, doesn't mean that stress, emotional upheaval, and suffering is not experienced. Resiliency involves the ability to work through stress, emotional pain, and suffering. Let's define resiliency, both personally and professionally. Personal resilience is defined as the ability to withstand adversity and bounce back from difficult life events. It is the ability to reframe negative experiences into opportunities for growth, and therefore, to value those experiences. Professionally, resilience refers to the ability of the healthcare worker to adjust prior to, during, or following changes and disturbances that occur during working hours. It is the ability to continue to perform their duties under both expected and unpredictable conditions. In order to promote the well-being of oneself and others, there has to be a degree of emotional intelligence present. Emotional intelligence is the ability to evaluate, understand, and manage one's own emotions. Emotional intelligence is also the ability to recognize, understand, and help regulate the emotions of others. The goals for personal and professional resiliency are the same. Goals can be to improve social skills, have better relationships, the ability to have more empathy for others in the wake of adversity, and to be able to reduce stress in themselves and others. The case study for this concept relates to an actual event in the cities of Grand Forks, North Dakota, and East Grand Forks, Minnesota. A flood occurred in 1997 in the cities of Grand Forks, North Dakota, and East Grand Forks, Minnesota. There is a river, the Red River of the North, that separates the two cities. The Red River had risen over the banks of each side of the river despite many weeks of attempting to raise a dike with sandbags along both sides of the river. A mandatory evacuation was issued by the mayors of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. All 3 bridges that connected the cities were closed and underwater. In order to evacuate, those that lived in East Grand Forks could only go east, and the residents of Grand Forks could only go west. Upon return to Grand Forks after the flood water subsided, at least 75% of the homes had some type of flood water or were completely flooded, and part of the downtown had burned in a fire. Residents of both cities returned to find many of their household items ruined by flood waters. Resources were made available by many organizations and assistance from neighbors unaffected. Out-of-town family and friends came to the aid of those affected. The residents of both cities showed great resiliency as they worked alongside each other to rebuild their cities and homes. They may have found personal gratification on their ability to survive a flood with no casualties, as well as being able to help those in need and the ability to rebuild. The residents also may have experienced that they had the ability to cope with a natural disaster, and they may have developed inner strength they did not know they had due to their experience. Both would increase their resilience. This is the reference used for this presentation. Thank you for listening.